So how do you keep up with modern trends?
Well, you just go with it, don't you? You go with it. If you don't, you're foolish. You're foolish not to incorporate all that's available. And as you know, my daughter's an actress, and she's quite successful, and I've been going to millions, but certainly a lot of functions. Some of the things I see, I think, Others, I'm amazed that they get away with it. But I'm seeing things the whole time, so I'm well abreast of all of it.
Because you're in a really good position, aren't you? The rest of us have to go to exhibitions and trade magazines. Where have you been that you've seen in?
Well, I was at the Royal Command performance. I thought the Welsh florists were excellent. What I saw, we stayed at the King David or the David Hotel, whatever it was.
Where was this?
In Cardiff.
Oh, and what was it for?
She was appearing for the Royal Command performance. So the hotel there was quite fabulous.
Actually, say your daughter. I'll show them a photograph. Actually, it's like all your family in now. Yeah, no, so that's nice. So you see all the modern things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some are excellent. Some are excellent. But on one occasion, I went to one function, very big, at the Grosvenor House, and there was not a flower in sight, and I couldn't believe it.
What does that say?
Very, very wrong. Very wrong. But I think it was a different, the others have been very good. Cardiff florist, I thought.
Excellent.
Yeah, I did indeed. So what's true? I mean, quite frankly, I think florists have got to be artistic navvies. That's my opinion of the trade. But when I worked in America, which I did, I worked in New York and what have you, I was the only florist working in one shop in New York because they classed it as so hard that they didn't let their women folk do it. It was all men, which was very nice. It was very young.
But it's changed a bit like that now. Lots of men coming into it, aren't there?
Lots of men coming now. Yeah, very, very much so. Well, I was trained by a man. A gay boy in those days who was extremely artistic and also...
What was his name? Can you remember?
Rene, yes. And the two manageresses in the two different shops that was... Because the people I worked for were Dutch. There were two Dutch people. Jack Armand and Klaus Twist. And so, the Dutch have been involved with that.
So the Dutch have been here a long time, basically?
Well, they were, but I don't think the Dutch... The element of the Dutch produce came into being here, or was really taken up by everyday florists until the 80s, when bang, things, the Thatcher years really. Suddenly there was like a boom in most things, wasn't there? And that's when the Dutch, I think, came into their own.
Do you think there are personal or physical qualities that are required?
I think they've got anybody especially most flower shops are not massive, are they? Flower shops can be small, they can be big, but on the whole, they're small. Maybe 5 or 6 people working there. They've got to have a friendly disposition and be able to mix with other people. And they've got to have a bit of stamina too, to cope. Yeah.
And are there careers that are easy to convert to? I mean, are there some that kind of, just don't bother, or are there some that kind of...
Well, I'll be truthful. In my experience, I've not had a lot of experience of people coming from one... I mean, I know that a lot of people that own flower shops, and quite big, such as Bill and Ben, I mean, they weren't florists, were they, Graham and the other fellow? They were business people going into it. So they approach it in a totally different way. But people coming from one job to another, I really wouldn't know how to comment on it. Basically, once again, it's their motivation. I mean, I've known people that are very bored with the work they do, but have gone into photography and things. I think you've got to know a little bit about floristry. Different if you're approaching it, as I say, as those boys did. That's business, isn't it? Yeah, business.
And what about wedding work? What would you expect a new florist to know?
Well, in view of today's way of going on, there's not that volume of florists, not that volume of weddings, is there?
Wiring or...
Well, no, I think mostly the wiring, it's seized as hand high, even for brides are asking for them now, aren't they? I mean, her principle of the that one can do poses or hand ties or whatever, the shower sort of thing. That once again is that I can see my grandmother working that way. She used to work with a little ball of moss. Yeah, a little ball of moss, and I can remember doing that when I first started.
So the little ball of moss was instead of the little ball of ices?
Yes, and then as the flowers were wired and mounted, that made the handle.
Oh.
So it's exactly the same principle, just variation on a theme, really.
It'd probably be easier in the mossy, isn't it, really, because the isis tends to break up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, in many respects, some of the old style, but you wouldn't go back to that, obviously. But that's how things work. But as you say, the only thing is that you're a bit wary if you aren't you. Go through the Dutch. I did eventually give in to the Dutch. They used to really quite pester me, and my answer was that I'm very sorry, but I just could not be disloyal to the people in the market, people that I've dealt with for many, many years. My mother and grandmother were their people. But I got let down on a Valentine's. So, and then the Dutch came in the day after. They'd been trying and I still wouldn't entertain it. And the day after they came in, and I had occasion to ring a florist in the East End on Valentine's Day, hopefully, that she could execute an order. And she said, oh, yes, she said, I've just got a second delivery of the Dutch, just to blah, blah, blah. And when she quoted me the price for a dozen long stem red roses, I was quite taken aback, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, the market itself lends itself to, there's fantastic plants, there's, and everything is so different that these people can come into the trade and get a good living.
So, Josie, I wanted to ask you some things because you've been in the trade a long time. Mm-hmm. How long have you been in it for?
Oh, goodness. I have been in it 61 years.
Mm-hmm. And your mother before you?
And my grandmother.
And your grandmother.
Yeah. On both sides, my maternal and paternal mother.
Really?
Yep.
So have you got a date that you can go back to?
Well, my father's mother was what they termed as a flower seller, and she worked with this basket which is called a kipsy basket.
Which I used to call a tipsy.
No, it's kipsy. And was a big wicker basket with a big handle, and so they could carry they'd go to market, buy their stock, put it in the bottom, and then on their pitches, which they would make up, they'd have sticks coming off of these kipsy baskets. I've already seen these because I'm going to talk about my grandma. And then they do up these little posies, these nosegays and buttonholes, and work them all on these sticks. And that was their main source of selling. Well, that was my grandmother, my father's mother. And then when Queen Alexandra introduced the Queen Alexandra Rose Day, they were approached by the palace to relinquish their pitches for the day, so that the ladies in waiting could stand and sell the Alexandra Rose. And they all went off to the palace to tea. And we have got a picture of my grandmother handing over to the lady in waiting. And I think that was, I'm not sure, I think it was all just after the First World War. Whenever the Rose Day was introduced, that's when it happened.
No, we could research that.
That's when that happened. Now, my mother's mother was more of a florist. As I say, my father's mother was a flower seller. And the pictures that they had, they were sort of quite elevated in the trade amongst the ladies, the flower girls. But my nan, my mother's mother, she had a little shop in Great Queen Street initially. But I think as irrespective of time and date, I think they priced them out, and I think the Masonic Hall was to be, or whatever. So that's when they moved to the store that we still have outside the station.
Oh, it's Holborn Station. So how long has that been there for?
Oh, many years, Julie, many years. Many years.
Can't remember the day.
My mother. I mean, my mum, my mother's. As I tell you, my mother used to come and help her mum on the store from the school that they used to go to. My mum would be over 100 now.
Oh, so it's over 100 years?
Yeah, I would say.
So they've had the store for over 100 years?
I think so.
So could you guess another 20 years maybe?
I don't honestly know. I don't know, but it's been there many years.
So over 100 years is long enough, isn't it? Yeah. Because you know, in the mill up north in Lancashire, I once went to see somebody, and he said to me, oh, well, they've only been in business for 47 years, you know. And I'm thinking, well, 47 years seems like quite a long time to me.
I've been in this shop 40 years. My first shop I opened in Gray's Inn Road, just after my father died. It was funny, really. It wasn't funny. I left Sharp Fleurs, where I worked. I'd been there 10 years. I left there to look after my dad because he had cancer and he died. And somehow or other, I don't know for what reason, but the thoughts of going back into floristry, and in those days, irrespective of where you worked, when I worked in the Strand, we always did a heavy volume of funeral work. We did in those days. And somehow I didn't want to do it. So I came out of it, came out of floristry, and I went to work as a civil servant. And I can honestly say, the people were moronic, and so I was so bored and so desperate that I came back and I said to my mother, I said, you've got enough stock here, because they had the stall and they had a little shop around the corner, more of a work room, you know, work area. I said, you've got enough stock here for me to open a flower shop. And she was quite dumbstruck, because I'd never wanted to have any business worries before. And that's when I opened up. I was 26 when I opened up in Gray's Inn Road.
You were in Russell Square for a while?
Then I was in Russell Square. I moved from there to Russell Square. And then from there, they altered the build. That's right. They built there, didn't they, the Royal? And then I came here for my sins, as they say. So it's been quite interesting, really. Of course, there's been many a time that I've thought, oh my goodness, this flower trade, but there's nothing like it. Well, for a start, I don't think there's anything can compare with flowers. I do not think that there's any piece of jewellery, any material, anything that can compare with flowers, plants, trees. You know, it's nature. A child, maybe a new baby, something like a beautiful child, but there's nothing to compare with flowers. Especially with the, you know, if you've been in the country and you see the early morning dew on anything. There's nothing. I don't think so. And I think if I didn't feel like that, I would never have stayed in the trade, because it's so hard.